Right now, along the edges of Canyon Lake, something feels deeply wrong. People who arrived this morning are already noticing it. The shoreline isn't where it was yesterday. Boats that were floating just hours ago are now sitting at awkward angles, their hulls scraping against dry, cracked earth. Docks that once stretched out over open water now end abruptly, suspended above nothing. And the water, it's still moving, not with waves, not with wind, but slowly, steadily, almost unnaturally. It's pulling away. Witnesses are filming it in real time. You can see it, the lake line retreating, inch by inch, exposing mud that hasn't seen sunlight in decades. The ground beneath is dark, uneven, almost scarred, as if something has been pressing upward from below or pulling downward from deep within. There's no storm, no massive heat wave today, no sudden explosion of evaporation, yet the water keeps dropping. Families who came for a normal day at the lake are packing up in confusion. Some are laughing nervously, pointing at how far they suddenly have to walk just to reach the water. Others aren't laughing at all. They're staring silent, unsettled, watching the lake change in a way that doesn't feel natural. Park officials are already moving people back from certain areas. Sections of the shoreline are becoming unstable. The ground is soft in some places, cracking in others. A few spots have started to sink slightly underfoot, forcing authorities to quickly rope off entire stretches. And then come the reports, quiet at first. Fisherman claims he saw a section of water swirl downward, like a drain opening beneath the surface. Another says the lake didn't just recede, drop suddenly for a few seconds before stabilizing again. No one can confirm it yet, but everyone can see the result. The water level markers, normally steady, are falling faster than anyone has recorded before. Not over weeks, not over days, over hours. Helicopter footage now shows something even more disturbing. Irregular patterns forming across the surface. Subtle but visible. The lake isn't just shrinking, it's behaving unpredictably. And as more shoreline is exposed, one question is spreading faster than the panic itself. Where's all this water actually going? Right now, the situation is no longer being treated as unusual. It's being treated as an emergency. Local authorities across the Texas Hill Country are moving fast. Sirens cut through the air near Canyon Lake as patrol vehicles sweep along the shoreline, ordering people to clear out of unstable zones. What started as confusion just hours ago has now triggered a coordinated response. Something is seriously wrong and officials know it. Emergency management teams are setting up command posts near the lake. Barriers are going up. Access points are being restricted. Boats are being pulled out as quickly as possible. Many abandoned mid-retrieval when it becomes clear the water is dropping too fast to safely operate. Overhead, helicopters circle continuously, feeding live images back to control centers. Those images are raising even more concern, because the lake isn't lowering evenly. Certain sections appear to be dropping faster than others, creating uneven gradients across the surface. In some areas, water seems to tilt, subtly shifting as if being pulled towards specific points. Officials reviewing the footage are struggling to explain it. And then the statements begin. At first, they are cautious. Spokespeople mention unusual water loss and accelerated decline. They reference drought conditions, seasonal patterns, anything that might calm the growing panic. But within hours, that language changes. Behind closed doors, scientists and hydrologists are being brought in urgently. Calls are made to geological survey teams. Data from monitoring stations is pulled in and analyzed in real time. The numbers don't line up. Officials expected gradual loss, something predictable. Instead, they're seeing a rate that is not just extreme, but unprecedented. Water levels are dropping faster than models allow, faster than any known natural process in the region. And then comes the internal alert, not public ute. A directive is issued to prepare for potential evacuation zones along certain parts of the lake, not because of flooding, but because of ground instability. Sections of shoreline may no longer be structurally safe. At the same time, state-level agencies are stepping in. Communication lines open between local authorities and higher emergency coordination centers. Resources are being mobilized not just to monitor the situation, but to contain it if it gets worse. Because now there's a growing fear inside those command rooms. This may not stop. Press crews begin to gather, sensing the urgency. Live broadcasts cut in with aerial shots of the shrinking lake. Officials step up to microphones, their tone measured, but their expressions say something else entirely. Tension, uncertainty, alarm. One phrase begins to surface repeatedly in internal discussions. We don't fully understand what we're dealing with yet. And as the water continues to fall, minute by minute, that uncertainty is becoming the most dangerous factor of all. Right now, inside emergency coordination rooms, the focus has shifted from what is happening to how bad it really is. Because the numbers coming in are no longer just alarming. They are breaking every expectation. Live data from monitoring stations around Canyon Lake is updating by the minute. At first, officials thought the readings had to be wrong, faulty sensors, calibration errors, anything to explain the sudden drops. But the data keeps repeating, and it's consistent.
Ow.
The lake is losing water at a rate of 34 million gallons per day. Not over a week, not averaged over time.
Right now.
Engineers run the calculations again and again, checking for mistakes. They compare it to historical drought records. Even the most severe dry periods in Texas history don't come close to this kind of loss in such a short window. Evaporation? Possible at this scale. Water usage? Not even remotely close. Leakage through known channels? There's nothing on record that could account for it. So they widen the analysis. Satellite data is pulled in. Thermal imaging scans the surface, looking for temperature anomalies. Ground sensors track pressure changes beneath the lake bed. Every system is pushed to deliver answers, but they find only deepens the fear. The loss isn't linear. It's accelerating. Graphs that should show a steady decline are instead curving downward sharper. Faster, more aggressive with each passing hour. It's not just draining, it's speeding up. And then comes the most unsettling discovery. Certain sections of the lake are showing localized drops far beyond the average. Small zones where water levels are falling dramatically faster than the surrounding areas, creating invisible depressions beneath the surface. Almost like something is pulling from below. Hydrologists begin mapping these zones, overlaying them with geological data. Fault lines, underground caverns, old karst formations known to exist in parts of the Texas Hill Country. At first, it seems like a possible explanation, till they realize the scale doesn't match. Even the largest known underground channels couldn't move water this fast. Not without signs, not without collapse, not without something massive giving way beneath the surface. And yet there are no clear indicators, no major seismic activity, no immediate surface rupture, just the water disappearing. Inside briefing rooms, conversations are becoming more urgent. Voices are lower now, more controlled, but the tension is undeniable. One analyst points out a worst-case scenario. If the current rate continues or increases, the lake could drop to critical levels far sooner than anyone predicted. Days, not months. Another raises an even darker possibility. If the loss is being driven by an unknown subsurface failure, the system beneath the lake may not be stable at all. Meaning this isn't just about water loss. It could be about structural collapse. For now, officials are holding back the full picture from the public. But internally, one conclusion is beginning to form, a quiet, unspoken realization spreading through the room. This isn't just unusual. This isn't just extreme. This should not be possible. And yet, it's happening right now. Right now, as Canyon Lake continues to fall, something long hidden is being exposed, and it's changing everything. From the air, the transformation is unmistakable. Wide stretches of the lake bed are now visible, areas that have been submerged for decades suddenly laid bare under harsh sunlight. What should be smooth sediment and gradual slopes looks? Wrong. The ground is uneven, scarred, broken. Deep fissures stretch across the exposed floor, cutting through mud and rock like fresh wounds. Some are narrow and jagged. Others are wide enough to swallow entire vehicles. They weren't visible before, not because they weren't there, but because no one could see this far down. Now they can. And what they're seeing is raising new fears. Teams on the ground are being sent in cautiously, step by step, testing the stability of the newly exposed terrain. Almost immediately, they encounter problems. The soil isn't solid. In some areas, it shifts under weight, sinking slightly before settling again. In others, It cracks without warning, forcing crews to pull back. Then comes the discovery that stops everything. Near one of the rapidly draining sections, a depression forms not gradually, but suddenly. Witnesses describe the ground dipping inward, just slightly at first, then holding, as if something beneath has given way. Moments later, water nearby begins to respond. It doesn't ripple outward. It moves inward. Footage captures it, clearly small, but undeniable. The surface tightens, pulling toward a single point, forming a subtle but visible draw. Not a whirlpool, not violent, but controlled, deliberate, like a drain opening deep below the lake bed. Crews are immediately ordered back. The area is sealed off. No one is allowed near it now, because this changes the situation completely. Geologists reviewing the footage begin connecting it to known formations beneath the Texas Hill Country. Vast networks of limestone caves, underground voids carved out over thousands of years, normally stable, normally slow to change. But if one of those systems has collapsed or worse, opened, it could create exactly this kind of effect. A direct path downward, a place for the water to go. The problem is, no one knows how large it is, or how far it extends. Back in command centers, maps are being overlaid again, this time with a new focus. Known cave systems, fault zones, weak points in the region's geology. What emerges is deeply unsettling. Canyon Lake may be sitting above a far more complex and fragile underground structure than anyone fully understood. And if that structure is failing now, in real time, then what's happening isn't just drainage. It's exposure. Something beneath the lake is opening. And as more water disappears, more of it will be revealed. The question is no longer just where the water is going. It's what else might come with it. Right now, the crisis at Canyon Lake is no longer just a geological mystery. It's becoming a human disaster. Across the Texas Hill Country, the effects are hitting fast, and they're hitting hard. Communities that depend on the lake are watching their reality change hour by hour. What was once a reliable source of water, income, and stability is now turning into uncertainty. Marinas are shutting down midday. Boats sit stranded, tilted on drying ground, some already damaged beyond repair. Business owners stand along empty docks, staring out at water that keeps pulling farther away, knowing every inch lost is money they will never recover. Tourism has collapsed almost instantly. Visitors who came for a weekend escape are leaving early, confused. Unsettled, some recording videos as the shoreline retreats behind them. Hotels report cancellations flooding in. Restaurants that should be full are suddenly half empty, their staff watching the news instead of serving customers. But for many, this goes far beyond business. Farmers in surrounding areas are beginning to panic. Irrigation systems tied to the lake are already under pressure. And if water levels drop much further, those systems could fail completely. Crops that depend on steady supply are now at risk, and there's no backup plan that can replace millions of gallons disappearing every day. Residents are starting to ask questions no one can answer. How long will the water last? Is it safe to stay near the shoreline? What happens if it doesn't stop? Some families living closest to the lake are already preparing to leave. It's not under official orders, not yet, but out of fear. The ground itself feels uncertain now. Reports of small shifts, cracks, and unstable patches are spreading through neighborhoods, creating a quiet but growing sense of unease. And then there's the water supply. Canyon Lake isn't just a landmark, it's a critical resource. As levels drop, concerns about drinking water begin to rise. Officials are urging calm, but behind the scenes, contingency plans are being reviewed. Alternative sources, emergency reserves, rationing protocols, all of it is now on the table. Because if this continues, shortages are no longer a possibility. They're inevitable. Social media is amplifying the fear. Videos of receding water, exposed lake bed, and strange ground formations are spreading rapidly. Some clips show areas where the land appears to sag. Others claim to capture moments where the water suddenly dips. Whether all of it is accurate doesn't matter anymore. The perception is spreading. And with it, panic. What began as a strange environmental event is now affecting livelihoods, stability, and trust. People are no longer just watching the lake. They're watching their future change in real time. The deeper the water disappears, the more uncertain that future becomes. Right now, the situation is crossing a line from crisis into collapse. What was once contained to the lake itself is now spreading outward, affecting systems that entire communities depend on. And those systems are starting to fail. Water intake stations along Canyon Lake are the first to feel it. As levels drop, pumps that were designed to sit deep below the surface are now dangerously close to exposure. Some are already struggling pulling in air, losing pressure, forcing operators to shut them down temporarily. Each shutdown sends a ripple effect across the region. Water treatment facilities are adjusting on the fly, trying to maintain supply with fluctuating intake. Pressure drops are being reported in certain areas, not widespread yet, but enough to trigger concern. Emergency protocols are quietly activated. Authorities begin preparing for controlled water restrictions. At first, it's minimal requests to conserve, to limit non-essential use. But internally, the planning is far more serious. Rationing models are being discussed. Worst-case scenarios are being mapped out. Because if the lake drops below critical thresholds, entire sections of infrastructure could go offline. And it's not just water. Power systems are now being reviewed as well. Canyon Lake plays a role directly and indirectly in regional energy stability. As water levels fall, cooling systems and support operations tied to nearby facilities face increasing strain. Engineers are monitoring for cascading failures. So far, nothing has gone completely dark. But the margin is shrinking. Emergency services are also feeling the pressure. Response teams are stretched thin, managing both the geological threat and the growing public reaction. Calls are increasing reports of unstable ground, concerns about water access, requests for evacuation guidance. In some areas, response times are already slowing. Roads near certain parts of the lake are being closed as a precaution. It's not because they've collapsed, but because they might. Cracks are appearing along embankments, subtle, but enough to raise alarms. Transportation routes that connect small communities are now at risk of disruption. And all of this is happening while the core problem continues unchecked. The water is still disappearing. It's faster than systems can adapt. Inside control centers, the tone has shifted again. This is no longer about monitoring a developing situation. It's about trying to stay ahead of a chain reaction that's already in motion. Because once critical infrastructure begins to fail, recovery becomes exponentially harder. And right now, every indicator is pointing in one direction. They're running out of time. Right now, Canyon Lake is no longer just a disappearing body of water. It has become a ticking time bomb. From above, the exposed lake bed stretches in jagged patterns, scars etched into the earth like warning signs. Below the surface, geologists suspect a network of hidden voids, ancient limestone caverns. Underground channels may be giving way. And if one of them collapses fully, the consequences could be catastrophic. Entire sections of the lake could drain in hours, not days. Officials are sounding the alarm quietly but urgently. Satellite imagery shows new depressions forming faster than anyone can track. Every hour. The shoreline recedes further, revealing a world that has been buried for centuries. Sinkholes, cracked earth, and hollowed formations that might be destabilizing the surrounding terrain. People are beginning to understand the scope of what's happening. Homes built near the lake's edge are at increasing risk. Roads and bridges may no longer be safe. And the water supply, already strained, is on the brink of collapse. But there's something far worse lurking beneath the panic. Scientists are raising a terrifying possibility. If the underground voids expand or collapse, the lake could vanish almost entirely, triggering a domino effect across the region. Neighboring rivers and aquifers could be pulled into instability. Groundwater could shift unpredictably, undermining infrastructure, agriculture, and even entire towns. Emergency crews are stretched beyond capacity. Evacuation plans are being drafted for scenarios that no one wants to imagine. Every attempt to predict what will happen next is met with uncertainty. The data is incomplete. The ground is unstable. The water continues to disappear at a staggering rate. And yet, no one can say with confidence how fast the crisis will escalate, whether it will reach its worst-case scenario. What's left is fear. A raw, palpable fear that stretches across the Texas Hill Country and beyond. Families, officials, Scientists and bystanders alike are forced to confront an impossible truth. The danger is not just here, it is spreading, and the consequences could last for years. As night falls, the lake's surface glimmers faintly in the fading light, but it is deceptive. Beneath that calm is uncertainty, instability, and the chilling potential for total collapse. Canyon Lake is disappearing. What comes next may be far worse than anyone dares to imagine. The question now hangs in the air, silent, heavy, and terrifying. What if this is only the beginning?